Clark-Boston connection, those two have been the second best scoring duo in the league behind Asia Wilson and Jackie Young. It has been so incredibly efficient.
I think that Indiana is a problem.
Yeah.
And the way that they are playing as of late, when you look at the numbers of what Caitlin Clark has done, her improvement and how she has adjusted to the speed of the game.
They are gelling and having fun.
Kelsey Mitchell, 25 points a game in August, had 25 in her game in September. You better watch out for her. And Lexi Hall in the starting lineup. That's a defender they need.
Have you noticed something different about ESPN lately? They're talking about women's basketball like never before. And it's all because of one rookie who's not afraid to speak her mind. Caitlin Clark just called out ESPN, and now they're scrambling to catch up. That's not even the craziest part of her story. Let's talk about Clark's rookie season. This girl is breaking records left and right. She's got the longest streak in WNBA history, 10 straight games of 3 or more three-pointers. That's insane! And her assist game, she's already surpassed Tisha Pacheco's record. Clark's not just playing the game, she's changing it. Here's where it gets wild. Clark didn't just shake things up on the court. She took on ESPN, and you won't believe what happened next. This rookie's got the potential to change not just how the game is played, but how it's covered.
In the way she plays the game, she's the true definition of a great player, one that makes the players around her better. You know, not only was she making a great shot, she was making great passes, and you know, she took her loss with humility. Caitlin Clark is a special player. She reminds me of a Steph Curry. You know, a lot of times she takes those ill-advised shots that me and Chuck don't like, but they go in. Not only do they go in consistently.
Imagine a world where women's basketball gets the spotlight it deserves. That's what Clark is fighting for, and she's just getting started. Remember when rookies were supposed to ride the bench and learn? Clark didn't get that memo. She's not just playing like a veteran, she's playing like an MVP, and that's creating a problem no one saw coming. You think Clark's impressive on her own? Wait till you see her team up with Aaliyah Boston. These two have become the WNBA's dynamic duo, creating scoring opportunities left and right. It's like they've got some kind of telepathic connection on the court. Defenders are left scratching their heads, trying to figure out how to stop them. But Clark's impact goes beyond just her partnership with Boston. She's breathing new life into the entire Indiana Fever franchise. Get this, the Fever just clinched their first playoff spot since 2016. That's right, after years of struggle, they're back in the game, and it's largely thanks to Clark's influence. Now, let's talk numbers. Clark's not just good, she's leading the league in assists with an average of 10.6 per game. That's not rookie numbers, folks. That's MVP territory, and she's not slowing down. In her last 12 games, she's been averaging 23.4 points and 10.6 assists.
I saw where you said the WNBA, they're targeting Caitlin Clark. What do you mean by how she's being guarded or, enforced?
I think these people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. If you're a college player and you're a great college player, like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players.
She's not just scoring, she's making everyone around her better. You know what's really wild? Analysts are starting to whisper about more than just Rookie of the Year. They're throwing Clark's name into the MVP conversation. That's unheard of for a rookie. But when you're changing the game like Clark is, people can't help but take notice. Even ESPN analysts who were sleeping on Clark at the start of the season are waking up to her talents. One of them said, "I think Indiana is a problem." That's analyst speak for, holy cow, we underestimated this team. They're praising Clark's court vision, calling it impeccable. That's a big word for she sees things on the court that others don't. But here's the kicker. Clark's not just changing how the game is played. She's changing how it's perceived. The Indiana Fever, once an afterthought in the WNBA, are now must-watch basketball. Clark's taking a team that was struggling and turning them into contenders. And she's doing it with a style and flair that's making people sit up and take notice. You'd think dominating on the court would be enough, right? Not for Clark. She just sparked a media revolution that could change women's sports forever. How? by calling out the biggest name in sports broadcasting. Caitlin Clark's not just shaking things up with her game, she's taking on the entire sports media landscape. And let me tell you, ESPN didn't see this coming. Clark's frustration with the lack of coverage for women's basketball was building, and she wasn't about to stay quiet. So what did she do? Clark took to social media and hit ESPN where it hurts. She called them out on their scheduling of women's games. No primetime slots? Clark wasn't having it. And she did it in a way that was subtle, but man, did it pack a punch. Here's the thing, Clark's critique wasn't just about her, it was about all women in sports. And guess what? Fans ate it up. Suddenly everyone was talking about how female athletes get treated by the media. It was like Clark opened the floodgates. ESPN, they were caught flat-footed. At first, they didn't know how to respond. But as the buzz grew louder, they couldn't ignore it anymore. Fans and analysts started asking questions. Why weren't women's games getting better coverage? ESPN had some explaining to do. And you know what's wild? It worked. ESPN started ramping up their coverage of women's basketball. It's like they finally woke up and realized what they were missing. Clark didn't just change the game on the court, she changed it in the media room too. But here's what's really impressive, Clark's confidence. Taking on a giant like ESPN, that's not for the faint of heart. But Clark handled it like a pro. It's like the pressure doesn't faze her, whether she's sinking three-pointers or calling out media bigwigs. People are calling Clark's approach no nonsense. She's not afraid to tackle issues head-on, and that's earning her respect, not just from fans, but from sports legends too. Shaquille O'Neal even said Clark does everything right. When Shaq's impressed, you know you're doing something special. Clark's not just changing how people see women's basketball, she's changing how people see women in sports, period. She's showing that female athletes aren't just great on the court, they're leaders off it too. And she's doing it all as a rookie. Imagine what she'll do next. Clark's rookie season is turning into a full-blown phenomenon. The WNBA's feeling the heat, and it's not just from the competition on the court. How is one player managing to flip the script for an entire league? It's simple. Caitlin Clark's not just playing basketball, she's changing the game. Her impact is hitting the WNBA like a tornado, and everyone's scrambling to keep up. You know how sometimes one player comes along and just changes everything? That's Clark right now. Let's talk numbers. The WNBA is seeing a massive spike in viewership and interest, and guess who's getting all the credit? Yep, it's Clark. She's not just attracting fans, she's creating new ones. People who never gave women's basketball a second thought are suddenly tuning in. It's like Clark's got some kind of magic touch that's making the sport irresistible. Here's where it gets really interesting. Clark's not just shaking things up on the court. Remember when she called out ESPN? That wasn't just a random outburst. It was a calculated move that's paying off big time. Clark's stance against ESPN didn't just make headlines, it started a whole conversation about how women's sports are covered in the media. And you know what's wild? The same ESPN analysts who were sleeping on Clark at the start of the season, they're singing a different tune now. They're not just praising her skills, they're calling the Indiana Fever a problem. That's analyst speak for, holy cow, we underestimated this team. It's like Clark's forcing them to sit up and pay attention. Clark's impact goes beyond just basketball. She's pushing for more visibility for women's sports across the board. It's like she's opened the floodgates. Suddenly, everyone's talking about equity in sports media coverage. And it's not just talk. We're seeing real changes. More primetime slot, better coverage, increased merchandise sales. Clark's star power is lifting the entire league. Now, let's talk playoffs. The Indiana Fever are in for the first time since 2016, and you better believe Clark's a big reason why. The anticipation is through the roof. Everyone's wondering, can Clark keep this momentum going in the postseason? Will she be the rookie who leads her team to a championship?